England has a lot to offer, which is why it sees so many visitors each year. However, when planning a trip, there may be a few questions you still have before visiting. This is Katie from Creative Travel Guide, and today we are answering those Travel England FAQs. Looking for more travel tips? Make sure you hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. So today we're doing something slightly different. We have searched for the most frequently asked questions that people have about travelling England, and we are answering them for you today. So the first question is, how much should I budget for a trip to England? Now, a week in England will cost around £1,500 to £2,000 for a solo traveller, depending on where you are staying. This is factoring in flights and accommodation as well as spending money. London hotels are more expensive than other cities, but you can visit the UK on a budget and spend as little as £100 a day. Unless you are willing to stay in hostels and only eat at local supermarkets, it's very hard to spend less than £60 a day. Now the next question is, what is the cheapest month to travel to London? The cheapest months to travel to London and England are September to the start of October and January to March. You can find cheaper flights to the UK during these months, and there are less tourists, so you will find a budget hotel easily and attractions will be quieter. However, if you are visiting in these winter months, make sure to bring yourself a warm coat and an umbrella. The next question is, what is the best and cheapest way to travel around the UK? Now, the train is the easiest way to travel the UK, especially if you are doing long journeys. However, it is not the cheapest. Catching buses like Megabus or National Express is often much cheaper and perhaps the cheapest way to travel the UK. You can even get £1 tickets if you book in advance. Which leads me on to my next question, is the train cheaper than the bus in England? So like I said, if you are doing long distance journeys, buses are often cheaper, especially if you're moving between smaller cities. However, the underground is much quicker than buses if you are travelling in London, and it is just the same price. The next question is, food expensive in England? Food prices vary in England, but an average sit-down meal is more expensive in England than Eastern European cities, but similar prices to the US and Western Europe. You can find cheap food in supermarkets and chain restaurants, and decent priced meals in pubs too. If you want a decent meal in a pub, expect to pay around £10 for a meal with a drink. Another question, how much money do I need for 2 weeks in London? Now, if you are a budget traveller and intend on cooking for yourself in a hostel and visit the free attractions in London, you can expect to pay around £50 to £60 a day. However, if you want to eat out more and visit some paid attractions, you will need at least £100 a day, whilst those that are looking to go shopping, watch a theatre show or watch a football game, you need to have at least £150 to £200 a day. Now the next question is, how do I get cheap train tickets? Now, cheap train tickets can be found when purchasing tickets in advance online. Use nationalrail.com to compare prices. Also, avoid travelling during peak times. This is between 6:30 to 9:30 am and 3:30 to 6:40 pm. Also, make sure you compare the prices of a return and 2 singles. Sometimes 2 singles can be better value. Another question, is it worth renting a car in England? Now, if you intend on only visiting one city or even 2 or 3 cities, the answer is no. If you're staying in a city, renting a car is silly because you can't really drive around the city itself. However, if you do intend on travelling the country a lot, renting a car can be a really cheap option. Compare prices ahead of time. We will leave our favourite comparison websites in the description below, but make sure to book your car hire online as far in advance as possible. Prices rise as you get nearer to the pickup date. Another question is, how do I plan a road trip to the UK? The best way to answer this question is to make a list of all the places you want to visit. It might be London, Bath, Cambridge, Oxford, Brighton, Liverpool, Birmingham, Wales, Edinburgh, wherever it is that you want to go in the UK, make a list. Plot these destinations on Google Maps. Some of these places are nearer to each other than you might expect. Some of these places are actually surprisingly far away from each other. But plot them all on a map and work out the best route for you. Then you can go over to Travel Supermarket. This is a popular website in the UK where you can compare rental prices and then you can choose the best car rental for you. Don't worry about paying for a GPS from the car companies. They always overcharge for them, and the GPS on your phone is just as good. Now the next question is, how many days are enough to visit the UK? Now, if you are only visiting London, you can spend 3 to 4 days to see the most popular attractions. However, if you want to visit other cities in the UK, such as Bath, Oxford, Liverpool, or see sites such as Stonehenge, you need at least 10 days in the UK. I've lived there most of my life and have not seen everything there is to see in the UK, so really it depends on what you want to see and what time you have available. Which leads me on to my next question, how much should I budget for food in the UK? Now, if you're staying somewhere with a kitchen, you can budget as little as £20 for food. However, if you are eating out 2 to 3 times a day, you will need at least £35 a day, presuming that you are picking up a light breakfast or lunch from the local supermarkets. The next question is, what is the cheapest airports to fly into England? So officially, I have done some research on this because I wasn't quite sure, but the 5 cheapest airports to fly into England are London Gatwick, Manchester, London Heathrow, Birmingham and London City Airport. So those are my answers to the most frequently asked questions about travel in England. If you have any questions yourself, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer as many as I can. Take care guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more travel tips. And until next time, stay creative.